Hello and welcome to Yincast with Alembic Strategy. On this podcast, we discuss something that we as a company are going through in the hope that it might resonate with a few of you. Maybe you're experiencing something similar at work or in your personal lives. And we hope that you will gain some useful insights and takeaways. Last time we were discussing people change and changing habits, and how sometimes a crisis or a change in the environment can force us to rethink the habits that we might have been clinging on to, because it makes us reevaluate how we've been doing things. You can listen to our podcast on Apple Podcast, iTunes, YouTube, or through our website, alembicstrategy.com. And this episode, we're going to be discussing team formation, how we found the recruitment process and culture. So today on the podcast, we have Anna, our new recruit, David.
Hello.
And I'm Alice. So David, you recently had your first training day or Yin day with us, and we just want to know how you found that.
Okay, well, firstly, thanks guys for having me along. I don't mind admitting this is my first podcast actually.
Oh well,
so
congratulations.
Thank you. The training day, I really enjoyed the training day. It was enlightening in many aspects. Firstly, just getting to know the team. It was good to see people in a professional light, doing what they do as a functioning team, and understanding the different skills and capabilities that each of those individuals brought to Alembic. But also for me, standing back and being able to look at how each of the different skill sets that were there could be combined into one much bigger, more powerful service, which is obviously what Alembic can deliver for its clients. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
It's good.
Yeah,
good to hear.
So I think we did. We kind of walked through our discovery process, and obviously it was useful for the new recruits. But I also hadn't actually been talked through it, because I think the last time we did that was literally just before I joined, and so Alice also hadn't been through it. So it was actually quite an interesting process to kind of just see, because I don't usually see that process where, you know, Alice, you've actually done it.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting for me as well, even as an old recruit. Not that I'm old, still young.
No, you're not, you've still got many years ahead of you.
Many.
I find it interesting though about you saying about old recruits and how, like, I feel as though David and Matt have kind of been here. I don't know how you feel.
10 minutes.
I feel like you've been here for a long time. It sort of felt very natural, you guys fitting into the team.
Yeah, it feels like you've been here a lot longer.
Yeah.
Already.
Well, I can reciprocate that thought, because it feels very comfortable already, despite it only being, you know, a handful of days into being part of the team. And that, I think, is testimony to the selection process, aka the hiring and interviewing sequence that I went through to get here, which at the time felt really quite lengthy. And that's, I mean, it was. I don't think it's any more than it. I mean, it was lengthy. I don't even want to think about how many weeks and months it took, but nevertheless, it was an important one for both parties. I think at one point we went to the pub, which was nice, and it was really just a kind of sitting on stools, eating a pork pie and
chatting.
fish and chips and stuff, and just chatting.
Yeah.
So you're unmasked in a professional capacity, and again, for both sides, it's a window into the character of both the person that's coming into the organisation and the character of the organisation that you're going into.
Yeah, I suppose it's not really what we did wasn't a recruitment process. It was more of a conversation, wasn't it?
Very much.
But it also means you actually know what you're getting into, and hopefully you haven't been disappointed.
No, so far it's been
all of a sudden, oh.
No, I'm going. Where's my bag?
So I was talking to a client recently. I was talking them through a tool that we use called the Decision Matrix, which, I mean, is self-explanatory, helps to make decisions. And I think it's a really good tool to use. However, when you're recruiting somebody, it's important, as you said, like to get to know the person and how they're going to fit into the team, because you could have somebody that ticks all the boxes on, meets all your factors 10 out of 10 on the decision matrix, but actually they've got to get on with the team, because that, a new person coming in, especially in such a small company like ours, can really rock the boat in so many different ways. So like culture and morale.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've got something, well, that Nick calls, as I'm sure some people won't be surprised, but calls it the pub test. So as you said, David, it's sort of, we all went to the pub with you and we got chatting with you and got to know you on a deeper level, and that was I think it was such an important part of the process.
I think it's especially important for such a small team because, there were only 4 of us, and then actually adding 2 people to the full-time staff, that's a big change, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so you have to be very sure that you're not making a mistake and actually bringing people in who complement the team instead of like completely not working and clashing with the people here already. It's
That works both ways actually, because as someone coming into a business, the last thing you want to do is to see the sort of negative ripples of your entrance. You don't want to come into a business and find that actually this person's uncomfortable because of me being here, because I've taken on some of their responsibilities and they actually wanted to hold on to those. So it's actually being able to get on board without creating waves is a really key aspect, and again, testimony to the interview process.
It's also just actually being able to have the conversation. So once you are here, having an open conversation about what people are doing, what people might be handing over to you. Because I handed over a fair amount to you already, and Nick has handed over everything marketing related. So it's just like, it's not treading on toes, it's just discussing it and being open about it and actually making time to chat as well. It's really important.
I think he was very grateful to offload a great big chunk of responsibility. In fact, one of the first things he said to me was that my KPI for your success is whether or not I work weekends, which is great. Because it gives him the space that he needs back. And I'm hoping that I can be the enabler of that.
Yeah. I suppose the other really nice thing was the socials we did, actually getting to know each other properly. We did the escape room, was it 2 weeks ago now? Which, I mean, I really enjoyed that anyway. But it was also just a really good experience to see how we work together in a team and actually
in a high pressure situation.
It's like forced upon you. Locked in a room, you have to work together to escape.
There's a lot of similarity, I think, between that escape room scenario, the sort of high pressure environment where you've got a certain amount of time for a team that's been thrown together to perform a function, and even though there's no money or there's no product at the end of it, or there's
pride.
There is pride, which is incredibly important. So and to see how the team worked there for me at that early stage was really indicative of what I thought I was getting into. You could see that help was given freely. There were no egos involved. And that, I think, is if you were sort of cherry picking to join the ideal team, you'd be looking for things like a culture which is open and transparent, and people giving freely and being prepared to put themselves out on the part of others in order to get things done. And crikey, we nailed it, didn't we?
I also thought the whole escape room idea is there are different problems that require different mindsets to solve it. And actually the fact we solved it so quickly was because we're a really balanced team, actually.
Yeah.
You know, that we're all working on problems that each of us could do or could help each other with that we couldn't have done by ourselves necessarily.
Yeah.
So I think it's really nice to see that we're balanced.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also for especially you and Matt, David, you were so ready to get involved. You could have easily, I think, being so new, just kind of stood more in the background, but you didn't. You were running around with your torch on your phone, shining it.
I was.
Making sure we were all right. And
at the very least, I was going to ensure that the team was illuminated.
Yeah,
with that
it's very important.
Nobody was operating in the dark on my watch.
Yeah.
It was very dark in there. So.
I suppose the nice thing is actually, like, we made time to have fun together.
Yes.
And I've noticed in the last 2 weeks, being in the office, we've actually chatted quite a lot and maybe haven't got as much work done, but that's kind of okay because we're still getting to know each other, and that is fine. It's not like Nick's telling us, now you need to knuckle down now if you haven't been doing
It's
enough.
forming, isn't it?
Yeah. Before the storm.
Indeed. Indeed.
So we'll look out for that storm.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any storm clouds yet, but
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
I mean, you can only do your best. There's no guarantee that with a new member of staff that they're not going to come with some baggage and create a storm at some point. Something, it's all it takes.
I suppose we should mention what the reference is, because it's not necessarily obvious, is it?
So there's a tool that we use called team psychology, and it's made up of 4 stages. So it's forming is the first stage, then storming, then norming, then performing. And it's the 4 stages that all teams go through have to go through in order to become high performing. And so we're in the forming stage at the moment. So we're all getting to know each other. We might be quite polite, not necessarily being completely radically honest with each other. But as Anna and David were sort of hinting at, eventually there will be a storm, so a challenge of some sort, and maybe a disagreement on something. And in order to move to the next phase into norming and not fall back into forming, which is what is easy to do because you like it, don't you? And everyone's very polite and everyone's seemingly getting along, is to be able to power through those challenges and come out the other side and sort of be stronger for it. So I think we're sort of just hopefully.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
and I
we'll
suppose
let you know.
The next podcast will be about that.
Yeah.
So
The storm.
all the gossip.
We're going to bring the storm.
Definitely. But I think we're already in quite a good position, hopefully don't eat my words, to handle storming, because we do, as Anna said, spend quite a lot of time together, and even just this podcast is sort of we're getting to know each other better, and spending time together. I think that's super important.
Yeah. And there are obviously other things we could do. Like with clients, we do motivational maps, and it's like working out what motivates people, because it's not necessarily money. And I know that money definitely doesn't motivate me.
Yeah.
And that's just part of the learning process, isn't it? Like working out, what is there that I could do that motivates you to work on a particular thing or harder on this thing.
Yeah, so with clients we do speed dating. So when they've had their motivational maps back and they've found out what motivates them most, and what maybe doesn't motivate them so much, we get them all to go into pairs for about 3 minutes, I think it is, and they have to guess what the other person's top 3 motivators are, which is, I think, quite a cool thing to do. And then obviously you'll tell the other person what your top 3 are. And I think the most important part of the speed dating is that the last 2 parts of it are, what do I need from you to help motivate me, and what can I offer you to help motivate you. So I think it's just becoming aware of how to work with each other, because we're not, as Anna said, we're not all motivated by the same things.
Yeah.
So maybe we should do that.
Well, maybe the
at some
storm cloud will come out of that.
point. Yeah,
Could
maybe.
be, could be. I think understanding the values of others is important in getting to the root of that motivation, I think, and that's all part of the sort of personal characteristics that make up the individuals in the organisation. So yeah, it will be interesting to see if we can get some speed dating done. I've certainly never done it, so.
No. Motivational map speed dating, just for clarification.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am married.
Just to be
Just,
clear.
yeah, just in case my wife's tuning in.
We're also in long-term relationships, so
Yeah.
just gonna put that out there. This is all PC.
Yeah, very professional. It's all
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Honest.
So just to conclude, what we've spoken about today is Dave has given us a bit of insight into his first training day and what the recruitment process and integration process has been like for him, which has been pretty cool to hear. And about culture and getting to know each other and how important it is to have a pub test. Any excuse to go to the pub. Right?
Yeah.
And just, yeah, having time together and having fun is really important.
Yeah, like the fun aspect of working together, not just the work aspect.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So thank you for listening to Yincast. Hopefully you enjoyed it and found it meaningful. We would really love it if you could share your thoughts and feedback. We're still getting sort of a grip on podcasting, so anything you can do to help us would be amazing. If there's any topics that you would like us to cover, then also do get in touch via the website or our email addresses, and we really love to hear from you. So thank you for listening, and hopefully see you next time.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Cheerio.